Hello, my name is Dr. Ruthie. I'm a professional sexuality educator and I blog over at exploringintimacy.com. But today I'm here thanks to the great folks at Funwares who are allowing me to come to you and answer your questions on sex and intimacy. If you have a question you want to send to me, you can send it to AskDrRuthie at funwares.com, AskDrRuthie, and hopefully I'll be able to feature you on my next YouTube video. And everybody can learn from your question then, because if it's something you're wondering, you're probably not the only person. Today I got a long multi-part question that I'm going to read part of for you from Cumless in North Carolina is her name. Excerpting a part of it. For the past several years, I've had a non-existent sex drive, but now whatever is happening has passed because the last 2 months I have not been able to think of anything but sex. My first problem now is that I want sex, but my husband doesn't, and when we do have sex, it all feels so rushed. I feel like I've taught my husband some bad behavior through a combination of situations, including faking it all the time. I feel so embarrassed about this. We've been together many years, and I'm at a loss. And I've tried to talk with him, but it isn't a topic that he's interested in talking about. Should I tell him that I have been faking? And if so, where do I go from there? Cumless in North Carolina. Thank you very much for writing to me, Ms. North Carolina. And what you're asking in your email is a very common question. And it's a very important situation, especially for a lot of women, in that many women have gotten in the habit or have made the decision to fake orgasms or fake pleasure in their sexual relationships with their long-term partner, and then something happens and they want sex to be different with their sweetie, but some bad habits have been learned and it's difficult to make that change. So your first question out of this was whether or not you should disclose, and that's really important. When you're considering this, whether or not you should disclose that you've been faking, it's important to think about whose best interest it's in and what your goals are for disclosing that, and whether, honestly, disclosing it is going to help you meet those goals or not. Ethical considerations are in there too. Everybody's ethics are different. If you feel that you owe this honesty to your partner, if you feel like you're in a relationship where it's expected and necessary that you share that, well then your question is already answered. However, if that's not the case, if you feel like some things are good to disclose and some things are better not to disclose in these situations, then think about what those goals are and whether disclosing it will actually meet them. Is your goal to feel less guilty because you've been keeping a secret? Is your goal to help open a conversation about changing your sex life? Is your goal in disclosing simply because it seems like you ought to say something about that to get it off your chest, and a good person would say that? Think about those particular goals and how disclosing in that way would impact those goals. And you may find that disclosing would help to open that conversation or ease your mind or help you to transition your sex life. In that case, absolutely share. And be prepared to process whatever his or her response might be to your sharing that you've been faking. If you think about it and you go, okay, well, I know where I want to go with my sex life, where I'm hoping to move towards, and I don't think that disclosing is actually going to get us in that direction, then consider where you stand on it ethically. No judgment, just think about it one way or the other, and then come to your decision that way. There are many reasons to share that you've been faking, and there's many reasons not to. But, you know, at the end, it's a personal decision based on whether it will help you in your relationship move in the direction that you want them to. Now, once you've decided to or not to tell, what happens next? Where do you go from here? Well, I want you to know that every person deserves to have an intimate and pleasurable sex life with their sweeties, regardless of what sex has been like in the past or not been like in the past. So your partner is interested in having sex with you. I know from the rest of your email. You're interested in having sex with him, and you deserve intimacy and you deserve pleasure, and you're both interested, so there's no conflict of who is interested in having sex here, so that's good. And, you know, with that in mind, regardless of what's happened or hasn't happened, you deserve to experience those things, and you absolutely can. There's nothing in your past that needs to stop you from experiencing it. It does mean that you're going to have to break some habits. about sex and about pleasure. What I would suggest, in your email, you let me know that you're comfortable with self-pleasuring, and you do that, and it works fine, and you have orgasms that way. To take into consideration, really pay attention to yourself as you're stimulating yourself, and look at what you like to think about, the ways you like to be touched, what works for you sexually. The next step is then to figure out how to communicate that with your sweetie. If your sweetie doesn't want to have sit-down face-to-face talks about this particular topic, there may be other ways to do it. You may say, I know this is not something we want to talk about, but I'd really like to show you something that I think is going to be very exciting for you, and perhaps show him the way you like to touch yourself and invite him to join in along, or to hold you while you're touching yourself, and he can learn what works for you. It's not always necessary to go back and say those old things you were doing don't work and maybe never did. What is necessary to say is, here are the things I really like that I'd like you to start doing more often, or maybe even all the time. So we're focusing on the present and the future more than the past of the conversation. Women, actually all people, are mysterious creatures, and things in our bodies change and the things we want change. And that can happen for lots of different reasons. So use that fact to your advantage in how you communicate this, and giving yourself permission to communicate this. The most important part is that you're increasing the desirable sexual behaviors with your partner and decreasing the unsuccessful, undesirable interactions with your partner, sexual behaviors with your partner. And that's going to take you understanding what you want and finding ways to successfully communicate that in a fun-loving, sexual, intimate way with each other. And you know what? As your authentic pleasure starts happening more and more often, your sweetie is going to take a liking to that, and they're going to want to have that happen and feel that connection, that increased pleasure that you're experiencing, that's bringing the same increase in intimacy and increase in pleasure to them too. I'm Dr. Ruthie. I hope this helps you consider whether or not you should disclose that you've been faking, and encourages you to move in a direction that will help you to experience that intimacy and that pleasure that both of you truly deserve. I'm Dr. Ruthie. Make sure to send me your questions, and I will see you at the next video. Thanks.